Well, you're amazing at taking out the trash.
What?
Well, you're incredible at doing the dishes.
Oh, man.
And I love how you just pick up after me. I was just
Such a
complimenting
goofball.
you. So amazing.
So amazing. You do know the title of the episode is What Does Your Partner Bring to Your Life, right? It's not What Does Your Servant Bring to Your life?
Who would take out my trash?
Kill the spiders,
Yeah.
bugs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unclog the drains.
Oh, damn. Okay. How do I transition from here?
Welcome to the Magnetic Mismatch Show. This is Linda.
And this is Will, and I'm super excited for today's topic.
Why? I was rolling my eyes when you picked this topic.
It's one of the rare opportunities where you get to say nice things about me, hopefully. Actually, no, you have to, because that's what the topic is. So the topic is...
What does your partner bring to your life?
Yeah. I'm like celebrating already. I don't even know what you're going to say yet. I'm kind of nervous now, actually.
Well, you're amazing at taking out the trash.
What?
Well, you're incredible at doing the dishes.
Oh, man.
And I love how you just pick up after me.
Actually, I don't know about this topic anymore. Might have a change of heart.
Why? I was just complimenting you. So amazing.
So amazing. You do know the title of the episode is What Does Your Partner Bring to Your Life, right? It's not What Does Your Servant Bring to Your life?
Who would take out my trash?
Kill the spiders.
Yeah.
Bugs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unclog the drains.
Oh, damn. Okay. How do I transition from here? So, because now I'm supposed to actually tell you what I think.
How
right?
amazing I am.
All right, fine. If we must.
Okay.
So I think it's a cool topic, because especially like for people that have been together for a little while, dating together or being married or just, have known each other for a long time.
Or like long-term friendships too.
Yeah, friendships. I think it applies to all types of relationships where, we tend to get very comfortable, right, with the people that are always there, right, for us or in our lives. And sometimes I think, I know I'm guilty of that, is to take those people and those things for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes we're so used to those people being in our lives or so used to the things that they do for us that we don't even give it a second thought and never think about, well, what if those things weren't there?
We kind of just expect it after a while because it becomes a routine.
Yeah. It's part of your life, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk about this topic because we wanted to, it's just one of those things where it reminded us of how important it is to remind each other what we appreciate about each other, what are the good things that we do for each other, and to not take that for granted, right?
Yeah.
And to tell the other person that you appreciate them for those things that they do for us.
Yeah, and I feel like with every relationship that you have in your life, they bring something special to the table.
Yeah.
And it's very important to acknowledge that and thank them for bringing that into your life.
While you have the chance to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be your family, friends, significant others.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to always be just your significant other.
Yeah, but this specific episode, we're going to talk mostly about each other or your partners.
It just rolled my eyes, but...
So Fine, I'll start. I'll be nice. I'll start, and maybe that'll encourage you to also be nice.
Okay, okay.
So for me, what I think you've brought into my life that I didn't have before was I really appreciate that you always tell me what I need to hear and not what I want to hear. You know, I think a lot of us, we have people in our lives that they do care about us, but it's really hard, you know, for somebody to be 100% honest and tell somebody and confront them about something maybe that they're messing up on or that it's uncomfortable to talk about. You know, like for example, for you, one of the things that helped me a lot was improving things like my fashion, right? How I present myself to my clients or to my, you know, to everybody, right? To the public. So that had to do with like dressing better and just, you know, being more conscious of how I present myself.
I think that's part of self-care too.
And self-care, yeah.
Yeah. The
You know,
way
I
you
wasn't,
groom yourself.
yep, how I groom myself, how I take care of my health. A lot of those things I was neglecting. You know, I was indulging and not really focusing or paying attention to, you know, self-care. And you were the first person really that confronted me about it. And you were pretty brutally honest, you know, and I'll admit at when you kind of told me like, hey man, you gotta like work on your like your image, you gotta work on your health and all these things. I was almost like in a little bit of denial, and I got
Yeah.
defensive. Do you remember that at all? Or
Yeah.
yeah, I would be like, no, what are you talking about? I'm
Yeah.
fine, or this or that, you know?
Yeah. I'm like, honey, your skin is like cracking. Like, moisturize it. You're like, no, it's fine. It looks fine.
Yeah, guys don't need to moisturize or do any of that.
Yeah.
And so I was a little defensive about it, but also it was kind of like a little bit of a blow to the ego, you know. It was hard to hear, but when I think I really gave it a little bit of time to think about what you said, and I knew that you were saying it out of love
Mhm.
and that you had the courage, because I'm sure it wasn't easy for you to tell me certain things, right? To point out certain things. And once I realized that it took you a lot of strength to do that, it allowed me to really appreciate that, you know? And I took those words to heart and I actually acted on it,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I knew it could have gone one of two ways, right? Could have gone good.
Yeah.
You would have
Receptive
to it, or it could have turned into just a giant fight.
A huge argument, but that
something.
that would have also said a lot, right, about our relationship.
Yeah.
And whether maybe is this the right relationship or not, you know?
Yeah, and I think, you know, I appreciate when people tell me and point things out that I need to work on. Right?
Sure.
Because sometimes you're in it, you don't realize that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we first started dating, you were in a stage of just indulging.
Yeah.
And you never took the time to kind of take care of yourself and your health, especially your health.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when I started getting worried when you were constantly just tired, even through just a short date, you were just constantly
gaining weight.
Yeah, you were just constantly yawning. The energy wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, we met each other in our 20s.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's not good.
Yeah.
You know, I was getting worried, so I kind of mustered up some courage to let you know how I really feel.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you did, because if you didn't, then nothing changes, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I appreciate that you're always upfront with me, and you always tell me things that, because a lot of times, you know, I would say most people, they're being polite, which I understand, right? They don't want to, or they don't feel close enough to you to be able to tell you that stuff, right? Or they feel like it's not my place to tell somebody how to live their life or whatever, right? So I appreciate having a partner that can do that for me and that is willing to do that for me. You know, because like you said, sometimes when you're in it, you can only see what's in front of you. You can't really see the big picture, or you can't see it from the outside perspective. you know? So I think that's very critical. And you still do that for me nowadays. And I don't think that's going to change, but you're very good at that.
Wow.
You have a talent for
Let me tell you where it stems from, though. It really does stem from a good place. The one thing, my mom taught me growing up is when people give you, when people tell you your flaws, it's not because they hate you or they don't like you.
or they're trying to make you feel bad.
Yeah, they're telling you to help you improve on yourself.
Yeah.
And she said that only the people who cares enough about you and loves you enough will be brave enough to tell you. So don't get mad at them, or or if it comes out wrong, like don't take it to heart. To use those words and evaluate yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. And it's just really hard, right? Because most people won't do that.
Yeah.
And it's so because of that, most of the time we don't really experience someone telling it like it is or telling us what we need to hear. And so it's almost like a shock, and you don't know how to react to it. You automatically get defensive.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I try to be softer about it.
You used to not.
Yeah. But I think it's because sometimes I get very frustrated with you. Just because I see that you have a lot of potential.
Really? Oh, thank you.
You do.
Thank you.
You're very smart, and I love your core value, because I know that no matter what you do or what field you're in, I know that you always put your clients' needs, first, right? And you wouldn't do anything malicious to harm them. You always want the best for everyone that you work with.
Yeah.
And I think we need to spread more of that into the universe, because not everyone is ethical in their business.
Yeah.
And you see that and you hear it. And I know that you're very smart and you're very good at what you do. And I see that you have the potential, a lot more potential than you're putting out there.
Than the effort that I'm putting into myself to bring that potential out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get these moments where you get excited and then you set these big goals, and I get excited for you because I'm like, I can see you achieving all that. And then
it's never a matter of like, I think you said it to me before. It's like, it's not that you're not capable of doing it. You have the ability, but then what happens is my motivation goes like up, and then I lose motivation real fast.
Yeah.
I have these spurts, right?
Yeah. And
that you point them out. You're like, you need to get back on track, basically.
Because I'm not going to be the person that stands by your side and encourage you and let you know and tell you, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to take breaks.
There's plenty of times where, and you do encourage breaks, but
I do, but
strategically.
But not like the way you were doing it.
Yeah, there was a period where it was just basically a little extreme, like where sometimes if I commit to saying I'm going to do something and then I get very inspired and motivated, you get excited about it, but then I don't follow through, then you get let down too. And you have the courage to tell me, hey, you should get back on track, instead of what I would love for you to do in a guilty way is just be like, oh no, that's okay. You should take a break. You should, kind of encourage it, almost like comforting it.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of like a kid, right? Where like, if a kid wants to eat junk food and eat tons of junk food, and what if the parent was like, oh, that's okay. Just, you deserve it. You had a bad day. Just eat those junk food. It's not good for them. So as a parent or whatever, as a loved one, they're saying something that you don't want to hear, but it's for your own good too.
Yeah. And you do that for me too. I mean, we hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And that's good, because sometimes when you're working on a goal, sometimes you lose sight of it.
Yeah. You get distracted.
Yeah. And it's good to have someone who's unbiased and who comes from a very good place, to let you know, and point those things out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. What about you? What would you like to say about me?
I think it's
Optional.
I don't
And I'm like
know.
staring at you. I'm like, now it's called. See, this is the law of reciprocity, right? So like you say something nice, then the other person is supposed to reciprocate.
Well,
You
like
know?
I've always told, I tell you this often, that I always appreciate having someone to go through life with
Mm-hmm.
and to share good and bad experiences with,
Yeah.
right? I think, well, I've experienced living alone and without you for a little bit. When I moved to another state, I didn't have my family or my friends there with me, and I felt lonely a lot. So
Understandable. Yeah.
yeah, so it's always nice to have someone share experiences with, and also to go into new adventures with as well. I think it makes it less scary to have someone go through it with you,
Yeah.
even though
100%.
yeah, I mean, I'll be perfectly fine going through, a journey by myself, but it's just not as fun.
No.
It's not as enjoyable, and it's not, and it's better to have another person to bounce ideas off
Yeah.
of, and they understand exactly what's going on,
Right.
versus you going through it by yourself, and then me telling Will about it.
It's not the
It's not
same.
the same.
No.
Yeah, and I think you and I, we complement each other really well. You're very good at bookkeeping and analyzing data and stuff like that, which is definitely one of my weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, I get to do the parts that I enjoy and you get to do the parts that you enjoy, together, we are better as a team.
Yeah.
And that's really nice to have,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, I think sharing experiences is definitely it's what makes life worth living, right? Because if you do it all yourself, yeah, it's fun and you get definitely some joy out of it, and you need to be able to be independent. But when you do it, when you get to share something with somebody else, and you create a memory or an experience together, it's even better, right? I mean, I think that's part of why we love traveling so much, is we get to go on adventures together. We get to experience new foods, new people, new cultures, right?
New adventures.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's what connects us, especially so. But oh, thank you. That's really nice. So we get to share experiences.
Hmm.
I think another thing that you've brought into my life that I appreciate is, uh, teaching me how to be a better listener. I know that in the beginning of our relationship, I definitely wasn't the best listener, even though I thought I was, because I would be so excited. I think a lot of people might relate to this, where you're excited to share your thoughts, right? Not to be like, I'm not intending to be rude, or I'm not intending to like just be dominating a conversation. It's more that like I want to share my input. You ever get that, where like you have an idea or you have an opinion,
You
and
get so excited about the
yeah,
topic, you just want to talk
you
about it.
just want to talk about it, or
Yeah.
you just want to help the other person, and you know how knowledgeable you are, so you want to share that with them. But sometimes it's just as important, if not more important, to actually shut up and listen, really listen to what the other person is telling you or giving information on, because it's so valuable,
Hmm.
like sometimes miscommunications come from the very fact that we're not really listening to what the other side is saying, or we're not even open to hearing it, because we think we have all the answers, or
Yeah.
our way of thinking is the right way.
Yeah. And I think that's important too, is to listen to what the other person has to say, because sometimes, you know, it can help you understand where they're coming from, or even help you shift your perspective
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And you can learn so much from a person if you just listen. to
Yeah,
them.
because their way of thinking, their experiences are very, going to be unique to that person. And maybe they can share something with you, an insight, a way of thinking, or a perspective that you never even thought about. And I know that's happened, right?
Mhm.
Where I'm like, oh, wow, I never thought about it that way. That's interesting. Now I'm going to shift or adjust also the way that I'm thinking as well. There's an
Yeah.
influence. Doesn't mean I'm just going to completely change my own opinion, but it can help me evolve, right? So I feel like I've been more aware of that, since being in a relationship with you. And I feel like that's helped our relationship tremendously
Hmm.
over the years, is being able to hear your side of the story and just shut up, right? And not say anything, let you get your thoughts out. And then I can share, I like really take in what you just told me. And then I can say, oh, okay. Now I can kind of reply, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it's silly because we were arguing over the same things. Like
Right.
we basically were saying the same things, but in different ways. But we couldn't connect with each other,
Yeah.
and we were arguing over basically nothing.
And it still happens from time to time
Yeah,
now, right?
yeah, but it's gotten a lot better.
It's less frequent, but it still does happen. But we've gotten better, at being able to listen to each other's points of view. And I think it becomes even more important when things get heated and emotional, right?
Hmm.
Because sometimes when you get so emotional, you stop listening.
Yeah,
You just want to be right. You just want to make that other person see your point of view.
yeah, yeah. And I think by becoming a better listener, I think it's helped us communicate with each other a lot better,
More clearly, yeah.
and we feel more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
communicating
Mm-hmm.
with each other. Especially in the beginning of the relationship, when you were just talking and I didn't feel like talking. I just would just, if I was upset at something, I was just holding it in
Yeah.
because maybe I didn't feel like having a long drawn out conversation with you.
Or you didn't want to deal with it right that moment.
Yeah, I would just hold it all in, and one little thing happens and I'll snap because I held up like 10 things that I was mad at you in the
Oh yeah.
past.
It's like it builds with interest.
Yeah, right. And I think by you encouraging me to you know speak my mind, if I'm upset at something, just say it at the moment, and you talking less and just listening, I think it's helped us in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, you've definitely become more outspoken about how you're feeling or what's upsetting you, or the opposite too. If you feel good about something, you'll actually express it. And
Yeah,
I think that's important, because it's so uncomfortable. Don't you ever feel that way where like you have
something to say and you can't
yeah, and
say
you
it.
can't
Yeah.
say it, or you regret not having said something when you should have at
Hmm.
that moment. And sometimes it's helpful too. Maybe you don't say it at that moment, but at some point, don't wait too long, right? Because sometimes maybe you're emotional, so it's like, all right, let's calm down a little bit. Let me take some time to cool off, and then come back, right? But I think you were holding on things on for like months at a time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was brewing,
Yeah.
and then I'll be sleeping, and then smack, all of a sudden, like 3 months later, like out of nowhere, and I'm like confused, like what happened? What's
Like you
going on?
snored or something.
Yeah, why are you so upset over me?
Snoring.
Snoring or something, like I didn't, I forgot to,
Put your mouth guard on.
yeah, or something, right? Something very minor that, or normally it would be very minor. It confuses me. I'm like, wait, there's got to be something else. It can't just be this little thing, right? And then we discover it's like, oh, because you did something 3 months ago.
But the fact that you encouraged me to speak my mind in the relationship also has helped me in other ways. Like, you know, I'm a little bit of an introvert, but by practicing in our relationship and expressing myself openly, I feel like that's carried on to real life as well.
Yeah.
Now I'm less afraid of small talking with someone that I don't know, because that's always been one of my weaknesses, is to just approach a stranger and have small talks with them and try to get to know them, right? But usually after the barrier is broken, then yeah, I could carry my own conversation, but it's always that initial awkwardness that's always kind of held me back from social events,
Yeah.
and it makes me uncomfortable. But the fact that I've been practicing my communication skills within our relationship, our safe space,
Yeah.
it's given me a lot of practice to be able to talk to people.
Right. It carries over, right, to other parts of life.
Yeah. And, as you get older and you go into businesses, you realize that communication is the key to success. And I'm so happy that, I got the chance to improve upon that.
Yeah, I think it was like being able to do that in the relationship. It's like you said, a safe place to do it, right? So yeah, that's good. Moving on, I think for me, another thing that you've really brought into my life is purpose, and direction. It's made me think a lot more about, what do I want out of life, right? And obviously I see us that as a couple, doing that together. Because a lot of times I feel like it's very easy for us to let ourselves down, right? We can justify it almost, like in the past, like same thing, right? If I'm not working towards my own goals, sometimes I can just easily just be like, it's not that big of a deal or whatever, right? I give myself all sorts of excuses. But when I have someone that I really care about, and I know that my decisions will also impact you, right, in our future, that gives me a lot more purpose and motivation and drive to actually stay on track and do the things that I set out for
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah. Because I think
And
it's harder to disappoint somebody else.
it is 100% harder to disappoint somebody else versus your own self. At least that's the way I operate. And I think I've realized that. So having someone to hold me accountable, or that I know, um, my actions will impact that person, I've become a lot more responsible, I think, too, because of that.
Yeah. Because, it's definitely, you have more accountability when someone else is relying on you.
Yeah.
Right. Versus yourself. Like, you can get by, right?
Yeah.
It's
You
fine.
can survive.
Yeah. But when someone else is relying on you, it's a different mindset.
I think that's why, like, parents, right, and they have kids, you see them do amazing things.
Yeah.
Like superhuman things. They'll be able to stay up, like, get by with like 1 hour of sleep, if at all, right? And they're taking care of their kids, doing while working, and still have time for friends and family, do all these things. And it's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's because of the love, right? The love for that other person. And you feel accountable to that other person.
Yeah.
That drives you.
And it's kind of helpful to have someone else there to help you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Doing it all by yourself is...
Yeah. That you realize that there's no reason for you not to succeed because you have someone to help you.
Someone who's always got your back, right? That, they'll always be there to support you, to push you on, to be your cheerleader, right? To encourage you and support you along whatever path you decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. And it's nice to have someone, there to help you with your insecurities too. Because, not everyone is perfect. Even though they
Why
may
are you
think
laughing?
so.
Why are you laughing,
There's always some insecurities, right? And I feel like one of my biggest insecurity was it was one of my biggest driving factor, but one of my biggest insecurities as well is that I never thought that I was good enough. I was always, comparing myself to somebody else, why are they there and I'm not there yet?
Yeah.
You know, or even if I'm there, I'll compare to other people that are there.
There's always somebody better.
Yeah, thinking they're better than me.
Yeah.
Always someone is better than me, which is probably true.
But it's such a we shouldn't compare our journey to somebody else's journey.
Yeah,
right?
but what I never give myself credit for is, yes, they may be better at some aspects, but you, with your experiences, you may be better at certain things that they're not as good at.
Right.
I never gave myself credit for basically anything. Right. And then, it's nice to have a partner who always reminds you that, you didn't get here by accident. You worked your ass off. And it's nice to hear that from somebody else. Not because they care about you, but because you know that, they would only tell you the truth. So, over time, I started to acknowledge myself, right? And we would do exercises in the morning, writing down our accomplishments.
Yeah.
And it's not to give ourselves like an ego boost or anything, but, it's to remind ourselves how amazing we are.
Yeah. And how much even though we may not be where we're at, or you might not be where you're at, you've still made progress, to get to this point in your life. And don't discount, right? Don't discount yourself. Don't discount all the work and the effort that you've put in to get to this point. Sometimes it's very hard, or we forget, right, how much it took to even get to this point in life. And there's more to go, and that's okay. But let's not discount any of that stuff either, and I think that's what it was. It was like you always were looking at the next thing and how much more you got to push, but then it's like you never took the time to appreciate how far you've come from on the journey. So I think that was really cool that you recognized that.
Yeah.
You liking this episode so far?
It's like a therapy session.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, and this is what's important, right? It's to be able to, I think, share with each other what we appreciate about each other. Again, like you said too, it's not just like for an ego boost or anything like that. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong, right? But I think it's important to tell the other person how much you do appreciate them and what you appreciate about them from time to time, because prior to this, I think it is very easy as we get busy with life and we're so focused on doing our things that we don't take that time to really acknowledge and to let the other person know how much we truly appreciate them in our life. And if we don't do that from time to time, what can happen, to that relationship?
It could fall apart.
That person might not feel appreciated.
Yeah.
That person might not feel like they are important to you, right? Even though that may not be the case, right? It's just simply saying it or showing it.
Simply pointing it out and saying thank you means the world to that person.
Exactly. And sometimes it's weird, right? Because people think it's like, well, that's my spouse. It's expected.
You don't have, it doesn't.
Once you think that way, it's dangerous, right?
It doesn't have to be like a grand old gesture.
No.
Right. It could just be a small thank you and acknowledging that. We've done a better job too of like, like regular day stuff, right? Like you usually do a lot of the cooking. I do the cleanup and all that stuff. And we try our best to always thank each other, even for those little things, right? Which is also kind of odd, right? In the sense that, every day when you cook, I always say thank you for cooking, thank you for the meal, right? But it can seem a little weird. Like, you guys are a couple, why do you need to thank each other? That's why, right? Yeah.
We've kind of taught ourselves, like, we always want to
appreciate every little thing.
Yeah, because sometimes I know, like, we had a little bit of a heated moment where it was you maybe didn't feel appreciated for whatever reason, and it was because I didn't expressly tell you, right, about something,
Yeah.
or there was a period of time,
Yeah,
where
because
that
I felt
happened.
like you were just expecting it,
Yeah, I was
right?
like, well, that's what you should be doing, is cooking, or doing all these things, even though you're busy too,
Yeah.
but you still did it. And
Yeah.
then you felt like I wasn't pulling my weight, right?
Yeah. But then we kind of clarified that because, you did point out that, yeah, I'm not doing the cooking, but I am doing the cleanup and the dishes and the trash, like we just kind of have to
And
sometimes
you need to remind it.
remind yourself that, yeah, you may be doing the cooking, but you're not doing everything else. It sounds ridiculous, but sometimes we forget.
Yeah, we forget. And I think it's because we're so passionate too. I think in that specific incident, you pointed out, and that's where I was really hurt about it too,
Mhm.
was that like you made it seem like what I was contributing, like cooking, was more important than the cleanup aspect,
Yeah.
where in reality it should be equal,
Yeah.
right?
But yeah, I think that's why it's important, right? Is to make sure the other person knows that they're
They're
appreciated.
appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah. And and even if you don't have
Sig
a
other.
significant other, it's important to think about these things because you need to be able to identify what do you want in a partner and what do you bring onto the table.
That's important too.
That's important too.
You can't expect this great person to do all these things that you want, but then you don't
contribute.
bring value to the relationship either.
Yeah. So you need to bring something valuable to the table as well
Yeah.
for the relationship to thrive.
Yeah. And I think if you don't have a partner or a significant other and you do want one, right, I think it's good to have those ideas of an image of what are those things that you're looking for. And it helps, I think, in your process, right, to kind of help filter beyond the superficial parts, to really know what do you want that relationship to look and feel like too. Not just the person, but like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how's the communication in that relationship? How's the respect, right, between each other? Is there respect? Is there appreciation? Or is it just expectations of this person is supposed to do these things for me because that's their role? It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
slippery slope, my friend. Yeah, I think that's kind of our message, really.
Yeah. And what we'd like you to do is just to take a moment out of your life and kind of go through some of your most important relationships.
Yeah.
And, identify things that you would miss if it wasn't there. And just show the other person some gratitude and thank them
Yeah.
for, bringing value and richness to your
yeah.
life.
Yeah. I think that's really important because it's like nowadays, because we've been together for so long now, it's like it's really hard to imagine what life would be like without you in it. It's weird. It would be like, wow, it would be very different.
Yeah.
I don't think I would like it,
Yeah.
And sometimes I know it's like kind of like, ooh, dark and gloomy, or like, almost like a negative way of thinking. I don't think so. I think it's realistic, and it helps you really appreciate the other person even more,
Yeah.
because like we were saying, it does remind you what life could be like without them. And thankfully it's not. So because you still have that opportunity to let that person know how you feel and how valuable they are to you, do it now. Don't wait,
Absolutely.
because we see that a lot, right? Like, where sometimes people wait and to say all these nice things about people after they're gone.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, that's it for us. I think hopefully you guys found some value out of this, and we've inspired you to, text a loved one or call them or tell them, right, what you
Yeah.
think and how you feel about them and how appreciative you are. But yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Follow us on Instagram at Magnetic Mismatch.
Yep, we have a YouTube channel as well. We put videos up there on the episodes. And also for the podcast, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and review. And make sure to share the episode.
Definitely share. And we put up new episodes every Thursday.
Yep. Cool.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye.